Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 8th, 2019 Old Bridge Township Council meeting. Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence and for our prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment of silence to remember those who are protecting us, both here and abroad, for our first responders, and for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A moment of silence, please. Our prayer, Mr. Pescetti.
O Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give them quiet minds and hearts, that they may hear thy voice. Help them to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give them strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right, and grant that they have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please be seated.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, April 29th, 2019, at 7:30 p.m. Mrs. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Cahill.
Here.
And Dr. Greenberg.
Here.
Mr. Merwin.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Pescetti.
Present.
Mr. Rizzoli.
Here.
Mrs. Walker.
Here.
President Soho.
Here.
9 present.
Good evening, everyone. We will begin with proclamations and certificates. Mayor Henry.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Council. Tonight we have 3 proclamations for the month of April. The first one I'm going to read is our public safety telecommunicators, or we always know them as dispatchers. Before I read the proclamation, let me just say, whenever you're in trouble and in need of help, you're going to call 911, and 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, somebody's going to pick up that phone and ask you what your emergency is. And they start that whole process in getting you the help that you need. So it's important that we recognize those people. The Township of Old Bridge's Police Department Public Safety Telecommunicators, or as we know them as dispatchers, are the very first responders and are an invaluable resource to those in critical situations. These dispatchers are called on when people are in a state of crisis, sometimes at the worst moments of their lives. Dispatchers have extensive classroom and hands-on training. Most dispatchers have handled horrific incidents while maintaining total composure, demonstrating sharp critical thinking, and executing an absolutely perfect multitasking ability. Dispatchers sit in a dimly lit room in front of several monitors, plugged into the radio, the phone, and 3 additional big screen monitors. The dispatchers watch the prisoners and location of each officer in emergency vehicle on the road. Dispatchers have no windows to the outside world during their shift. They are the people you never see. A substantial number of apprehensions of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients each year are attributable to dispatchers. Each Old Bridge dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance of their job in this past year. Now, therefore, I, Owen Henry, Mayor of the Township of Old Bridge, Township Council, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, declare the week of April 14th through April 20th, 2019, to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Old Bridge in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our citizens and our city safe. Thank you, Council. The next one I have is recognized in April as autism. Any of you who have attended our council meetings or watched them know that here in Old Bridge, we have programs for the people. We give out medals, and we really do what this community needs to do. Autism is the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States, affecting the social learning and behavioral skills of more than 3 million people, in an urgent public health crisis that demands a national response. Autism is the result of a neurological disorder that affects the normal functioning of the human brain and can affect anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background. Symptoms and characteristics of autism may present themselves in a variety of combinations and can result in significant lifelong impairment of an individual's ability to learn, develop healthy interactive behaviors, and understand verbal as well as nonverbal communication. The effort to address autism continues. Doctors, therapists, and educators can help people with autism overcome or adjust to its challenges and provide early, accurate diagnosis and the resulting appropriate education, intervention, and therapy that are vital to our future growth and development. Ensuring that people living with autism have access to lifelong care and the services needed to pursue the full measure of personal happiness and achieve their greatest potential. Old Bridge is honored to take part in this annual observance of Autism Awareness Month in hope that it will lead to a better understanding of the disorder. And now, therefore, I, Owen Henry, Mayor of the Township of Old Bridge, the Township Council, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as Autism Awareness Month to raise public awareness of autism and the myriad of issues surrounding autism, as well as to increase knowledge of the programs that have been and are being developed to support individuals with autism and their families. April's a busy month. Yes, it is. I have also a proclamation recognizing Sexual Awareness Month and the observance of Denim Day are intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has public health implications, including lifelong mental health impact for every resident and community member of the Township of Old Bridge. Sexual assault, abuse, and harassment greatly impact our community, as statistics indicate that every 98 seconds, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted, and every 11 minutes, the victim is a child. Sexual assault, abuse, and harassment greatly impact our community. Prevention is possible, so we must work together to educate our community about what can be done to stop sexual violence, such as asking, accepting, and respecting boundaries while supporting survivors. Throughout the month of April, the Township of Old Bridge strongly supports the efforts of the county, state, and national partners and every citizen to actively engage in public and private efforts, including conversations about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual violence. Now, therefore, I, Owen Henry, Mayor of the Township of Old Bridge, the Township Council, and the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim April 2019 Sexual Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. Right, next will be approval of minutes, combined meeting February 11th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Combined meeting March 11th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move it. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Bill listing, Mrs. Walker.
Accounts payable, April 8, 2019, $13,644,495.23.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, March 29, 2019, $1,629.67.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty? Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, March 29, 2019, $24,296.40.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Rizzoli. And may we have a breakdown, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, thank you, Council President. As Councilwoman Walker indicated, that total overtime for this pay period as of March 29th was $24,296.40. There was no real uptick in any other department. For police overtime, the sworn officer police overtime was $19,970.78. There was no grant deduction. When you deduct for ETO of $7,703.24, the net overtime was $12,267.54, representing 339.75 men and women hours. There was no officers injured on duty this pay period.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
That concludes the bill list.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Walker. Public hearing and ordinances for second reading. H1, proposed Cottrell Farm Park second public information meeting and presentation. Good evening. Could everyone please, just for the record, everybody at home introduce yourselves, please?
Himanshi Shah, Business Administrator, Chief Financial Officer.
Mayor Henry?
Nicole Shapiro, Director of Community Development and Township Engineer.
Good evening.
Maybe we'll kick off. Oh, okay. Nicole will
Yeah.
go through the presentation
Okay,
and
thank
purpose
you.
of that.
Thank you, Council President and Council, for giving me the opportunity for a second public hearing. Those of you who have followed Cottrell Farm Park or the proposed improvements to the farm itself know that I've had in the past year several public hearings, one being in front of council, one being in front of planning board, one being in front of the public, and also steering committee meetings. As part of a Green Acres, NJDEP Green Acres application, we are required to have a public hearing to get any comments from the public on our application. If you take a look up on the screen, you'll see that Cottrell Farms is actually tucked on the northeast corner of the intersection of Cottrell Road and County Route 516. This second public meeting is, again, that direct result of the application that we have submitted to Green Acres on March 30th of this year. In preparing the Green Acres application for local government assistance for park development via the Urban Aid Program, we noticed that there was a public hearing component. And the way that our council meetings fell, it was important for us to do it. However, we didn't have enough time to notice and have it completed prior to our application submission. NJDEP Green Acres program had given us the ability to do it after the application was submitted, and so long as we forward the information from today's meeting. You may recall that at the last council meeting on March 25th, council had authorized the mayor to execute the NJDEP Green Acres application via our consent agenda. Again, the application was submitted on March 30th, pending the second public hearing to obtain comments on the Green Acres application. Pursuant to NJAC 7:36-12.2b, which just means it needs to be advertised in your local newspaper, this hearing was advertised on March 20th. The public may speak at this hearing, and I do have a sign-in sheet, and we'll open it for public comments at the end of the presentation. But those are the general requirements of Green Acres. Just to go into a little bit of the history, we had jointly acquired the property with Middlesex County using funds with Middlesex County, Green Acres, Old Bridge Township, and a couple of other smaller entities that had contributed. Initially, Middlesex County retained ownership of 60%, the township 40%, and jointly acquired the property. However, then it gets turned over to Middlesex County, and that's why in April of 2017, we entered into a management agreement with Middlesex County where they give us the right for the next 10 years to manage, maintain, improve Cottrell Farms with their consent. In 2015 and 2016, Middlesex County did their due diligence. They actually went out and got an LSRP to do an environmental investigation of the property. And then in 2017, they actually hired an architect to go out there and take a look at the conditions of the buildings. And I've said it before, that farm building is beautiful on the inside. I hope everybody has had the opportunity to go look inside. Really pristine. In spring of 2018, we put an RFP out to consultants, and that basis was on a conceptual design developed by the Engineering and Planning Office in 2017. That RFP was to take our conceptual plan to the next phase, and then that was design. So just the project progress so far, we hired an architect and a site engineer to advance basically the conceptual design. We've met with Middlesex County on our initial conceptual and what we foresee going forward. We had ongoing meetings with OBMUA and our conservation officer, Forester Gary Lavallo. We met with our OEM coordinator, fire marshal, and construction code official. We compiled and addressed steering committee comments from 2 different steering committee meetings. We had one public info meeting that was held in October of 2018. However, in the eyes of Green Acres, that public meeting doesn't qualify because we have to specifically name the application that we're submitting. However, at that time, this application never existed. Conceptual design was refined. We had numerous internal design meetings with our design consultants, and then we advanced our design basically to a phase 1 contract document set. So just to rehash, we had a conceptual presentation to the council in September 2017, a planning board conceptual presentation in 2018 in May. We had 2 steering committee meetings, the first of which in July of 2018, where we had then secured our 2 consultants for architectural services and engineering services. Our second meeting on October 17th with our steering committee to make sure that we captured all of their comments and addressed any additional. And then that final concept was then presented on October 26th to our public, which was also televised. I'm sorry, 2018. I'm sorry, 2018. I'm thinking ahead.
Way ahead.
So above is the revised concept plan based on all the meetings that we had. And then this is basically a 4 to 5 phase project based on the cost estimate. And you could see this portion in the lower left-hand portion of your screen, you'll see this portion is basically your phase 1. And you'll see basically a site plan later on in the set that shows this lower portion as your phase 1. There is a walking path that meanders through the site and it connects, but there'll be one exterior loop that ties you back into the parking area as part of the phase 1. But anything other than this lower corner of the property would be considered in the Phase 1, and that's due to cost. We had some money funded in our capital, and we're looking for a joint venture with Middlesex County, with the state, with Green Acres, and also there's another application that's coming up for local aid assistance from the state, from DOT, that we do qualify for. So I know that the council has always heard me say we like to use other people's money, so we look for other opportunities to try and fund the project besides our capital. So our next steps were to take that conceptual plan, complete Phase 1 contract plans and specifications, take Phase 1 and publicly bid and award it, and Phase 1 construction to be anticipated to begin sometime in spring of 2019. My goal is the beginning of June, and we're looking to basically advertise shortly, for award sometime in May. This is a closer shot of one of the engineering plans, one of the site plans for the portion that's at the intersection of Cottrell and 516, the lower portion. This is the majority of what will fit within that Phase 1 contract plan set. Before I go to open it to public comments and council comments and for any questions, Green Acres requires me, I just want to read a small notice that actually went into our newspaper when we advertised for tonight's meeting. Take notice that the Township of Old Bridge and County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, Mayor and Engineering Department, in accordance with NJAC 7:36-12.2 of the Green Acres Regulations, seek to file a local government assistant application for park development via the Urban Aid Program to obtain a grant from the State of New Jersey Green Acres Program for the development of recreational facilities at the proposed Cottrell Farm Park, located at the northeast corner of Cottrell Road and County Route 516 Mattawan Road. The grant will allow for the construction of recreational facilities at the park, including a splash pad, playground, community gardens, memorial walkway, walking trails, fitness park course, amphitheater, picnic pavilion, great lawn, and related amenities. Pursuant to NJAC 7:36-12.2b, a second public hearing to obtain comments on this Green Acre application will be held as follows. Monday, April 8th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Old Bridge Township Municipal Complex Courtroom, 1 Old Bridge Plaza, Old Bridge, New Jersey, 08857. All information submitted by the Township of Old Bridge to Green Acres Program in support of this application is available for public inspection at the Old Bridge Engineering Department, located at 1 Old Bridge Plaza, Old Bridge, New Jersey, during regular business hours. The public may speak at the public hearing or submit written comments to the Township Engineer at any time through the close of the public hearing. Address any written comments to Nicole Shapiro, Township Engineer, Township of Old Bridge Engineering Department, 1 Old Bridge Plaza, Old Bridge, New Jersey, 08857. Verbal comments may be given at the public hearing. Each speaker will have the right to comment once for a period of 5 minutes. You'd notice that I said 7 p.m. instead of 7:30. That's how it was advertised. But I was sitting in here at 6:55, and if anybody in the audience said, "Who's the crazy lady coming up to me asking me about Cottrell Farms?" that was me. But I could say that nobody was here between 7 and 7:30, and that's why I started the presentation now. And if anybody in the audience wanted to come and speak, they're more than welcome to come up. They would just have to sign in as proof to Green Acres that we did have some public comments on the park. And I invite anybody to comment to me either via email. The email is right up top, nshapiro@oldbridge.com, prior to Friday. So Green Acres just requires us to take comments for tonight. But I thought it was important because we're televised. Maybe people at home are seeing this for the first time, and maybe they'd like to have an opportunity to comment. So I was giving till Friday to receive any written comments via email, or certainly they can mail us anything, or stop by and drop it off at the engineering department. Also, www.oldbridge.com/Cottrell Farms has all the information from every steering committee, public info meeting, Even the entire application has been PDF'd and placed on that website. So anything to date that has been done on Cottrell Farms is there for public viewing, should anybody want to take a look or see how the progress is going. Council President, I invite you, if you would like to open it up to council and then the public.
Yeah, I'd like to open it up to the public first. Is there anyone here in the public that would like to be heard on this application? Come forward, please. Good evening.
Hi, Nicole. My name is John Milner. I'm running for mayor. And I have a couple of questions quickly about this plan. Is this a capital improvement plan? And how much is it going to cost the municipality in total?
It is a multi-phase project. I have the number so far for phase one. I don't have each phase yet until we get to basically the nitty-gritty of it. Phase one would be approximately 1.2 for the site improvements, and then of the buildings that you see there, the farmhouse inside and out would be completed, a rehab of the farmhouse inside and out, plus the exterior of the red barn, the stone garage, and the CMU garage for a total of $2 million.
And how many acres is the property?
I believe from recollection it was about 24 of usable area, because if you noticed in that aerial mapping, the top portion is untouchable. This portion up here is untouchable, that's wetlands, and then there's a buffer area that actually goes around that wetlands area, and we don't touch any of the wooded, natural, sort of vegetated area that's at the northern end of the project.
So what we're looking at here is the end of the project with the development?
Yeah, this is a full build-out conceptual plan.
Thanks.
Yeah. Can you sign in? Can you sign in? Sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to be heard on this application? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion and now go to council. Anyone on my left for comments or questions? Anyone on my right? Mr. Pasquetti.
Hi, Ms. Shapiro, was during the public comments on the last public meeting, I think it was October, was there anyone opposed to this?
I think we had one opposition, and that was the farmer, John Hauser.
You know what his opposition was?
I don't recall verbatim. I think he'd rather it just remain a farm.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Anyone else for comment?
Yes, I would just like to say this project is a long time coming, since the time that it was discussed, even the initiation of even acquiring the property. That went on for a long time. And then the property, as you said, had to be remediated. And a lot of times people question, oh, you're putting money in a capital project, you know, where do you put your money? The money has been spent for the property, and it would be a tragedy not to make improvements on it. It's the center of the town. It has a lot of history to it, and just like you said, the buildings are there, and you can't let the buildings go into disrepair. If you don't invest into it and make it available for the entire community, then the whole thing of even purchasing would have been very foolish. So here we are at a point of time, and I'm so glad to see the progress happening. Hopefully, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that lived in Old Bridge that don't live here anymore, that didn't see this project through. I think a lot of thought and work went into it. The process is open where people do have things to say about it, and I think you've taken a lot of input. And I think the park is very diverse, meeting a lot of different people's needs. And so I look forward to seeing it done, and, you know, the initiation of it, and I commend you for the work that you put into it. Thank you.
Mrs. Walker?
I just want to say I'm very happy to see that the buildings are going to remain because they're beautiful, and I think they're going to be put to good use. I'm happy to see that this project is finally coming to fruition. Like Dr. Greenberg said, it was a very, very long time coming, and I'm happy the public's going to get to enjoy it.
Okay, I'll just close the comments by saying I was on the council that voted to purchase the property, and I'm very proud and happy about that. Cottrell Farm is in my ward, so I'm a little more partial, but I think it's a very good process that we went through, and I want to stress that this is in phases. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, and as we move along into other phases, should there be questions or concerns among the public, they will definitely have their moment to be heard. I think the public meeting was great. I know Old Bridge Muse came, and they had questions, and I think they were satisfied with the answers they received, and they were happy to give their input to you, for some further thought. So I think that this is a great project as well, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you very much for all your time.
Council President, I just want to add one more important thing is that, we have many facilities for the contact sports and other facilities. This will be the first one that in the center of town that can be used by anybody. It doesn't have to be, any sports related. You want to walk, you can go there. There's, it's going to be gazebo, there's going to be event, a community garden. So there is many phases of things that can be done that doesn't require any kind of a sports related activity. So I think that's why we're very excited to have this project, come to fruition.
Okay. Are we good now? Oh, Mr. Murphy?
Are you saying there won't be anything there that says use by permit only?
Well, there are probably certain things that will, like a community garden, they have to sign up, register, but it's not.
No, I mean, you're saying they can just walk on the grass when they want and do this? Well, there's places in Old Bridge you can't do that.
There are walking trails.
Okay.
There is no restriction, people can just walk.
Okay.
There'll be a garden, open area, lawn, that
right.
people can go and sit and enjoy. That's the whole idea.
Okay, I'll take your word on that. Thank you.
Okay. Are we good? All right.
Council President, I'd just like to close and just build upon what some of the comments. I don't believe leaving the property alone is an option. To let these facilities, the homes, deteriorate to a state of disrepair, and so goes the history of this property. As we all know, the potential for the uses are limitless. We can sit here for days and talk about what can be going on this property. As Manchu said, it's going to be more of a passive recreation facility, with the buildings being a focus and a highlight. What many organizations in town need space, and this will be a perfect opportunity for everyone to express their the arts. The one barn is cultural arts, and amphitheater is coming for anyone with music, and we can do our concerts. It's just limitless, and the benefits for this community. So I feel, as everyone said, we can't wait to get the shovels in the ground and get this going. We're very excited to be part of it. And council, you should all cherish that you're here at this time and you're part of this, the council that's getting it done. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for any comments? Okay. Seeing no hands, I will ask for a motion.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Council
yeah, I'm
President.
sorry, Nicole.
Can I just pass the attendance sheet if council and even our township attorney can sign in?
Yep, will do. All right.
In the meantime, I'll make a motion.
A second.
Yeah, we have to. So motion was made by Mr. Pischetti. Second by Dr. Greenberg, Belli.
What is the motion?
To accept the report? We need to accept the report as part of this, as part of the process, Mr. Merwin. We have to acknowledge that the report.
That's why we can't.
Yeah, no, that's what it's for.
I didn't know if you were asking for $10 million or something. I wanted to make sure.
No.
Not yet.
No. Yeah, but this is let's just be clear too for the public at home. This is a motion to accept the report that was just given to us by Mrs. Shapiro.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pischetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you for a very good presentation.
Thank you.
Yep. Next is H2, Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Lumbini LLC, Block 9000, Lot 3501. Request to postpone until April 29, 2019, without notice and re-advertisement. I'd like to open it to the public, please. Anyone in the public wish to be heard?
No, you just continue, you'd open it,
Okay.
now we're going to continue.
Okay, and we're going to continue.
Public hearing will be continued to April 29, 2019, without notice and re-advertisement on that matter.
Next is,
Motion.
I need a motion for that, please.
Move it.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Divine Ventures Development, LLC, Block 6017-11, Lots 1 and 2, application number 102-06P, and request postponement until April 29th. I'll open it to the public and then continuance.
This matter is going to be continued until April 29th, 2019, without notice and re-advertisement necessary.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mrs. Walker.
Where is this? What is it? Do we know?
Where is it located, Mr. Murrin? Is that the
Yeah,
question?
well,
Okay.
What is it? I mean, I don't know any Divine Venture Development, that's what I'm... And the one before that, do you have that? I'm sorry.
The first one is actually A.J. Barthwell's application on Angela Drive. It's an office building to the rear.
That's it.
Okay, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
H4, Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Manzo Old Bridge Properties, LLC. Preliminary Minor Subdivision, Block 5001, Lots 11, 12.11, and 13. Application number 95-99Z. This was postponed for March 25th, 2019, without renotice or advertisement. I will open it to the public. Is there anyone here? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion and go to council. Does council have any comments? Nicole, is anyone here? That's what,
No. We,
They actually sent us a letter that they wanted to be postponed to May 13th. I think Stella, right now, our township clerk was conversing with our township attorney to see if they needed further notice.
right, they do need notice, and it may go further than the 13th, depending on dates.
Okay.
Whether or not they can get their notices out.
Okay.
All right, but it won't be until late next month.
all right. So then
So
this
they
is,
will
all
have to notice and re-advertise.
right, so this is postponed
Postponed until further notice.
until further notice. Okay.
Okay, I need a motion?
Yep. Can I have a motion, please? Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes. Thank you.
Ordinances for second reading. Ordinance number 1, number 2019-06. Ordinance designating target enforcement zones in the Township of Old Bridge for the calendar year 2019.
Move it.
I'd like to open it up to the public. Does the public have any questions or comments? Seeing no hands, we'll close the public portion. Anyone on council have a comment? I heard someone made a motion.
I made a motion.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Merwin and Mrs. Walker.
I just have two comments before we start. Point of order, really. In the ordinance, it says traffic violation. I believe we stated last time there was only going to be moving violations.
Is there anyone here that can address that question?
Well, it should be written in the ordinance that way, right?
Give us a minute, we just want to...
I'm sorry, Councilman Merwin, what was the question?
We had agreed that that was going to be only moving violations.
The basis for it, if I remember correctly, was any type of violation that occurred in those targeted zones would require mandatory court, with emphasis on moving violations. That's correct. I mean, most of those areas don't have parking shoulders, so it wouldn't be so much that type of stuff. But moving violations is the predominant offenses we're looking at.
Well, it was stated at the first reading that it would only be moving violations.
I can't speak to that. I wasn't here for that first reading.
Yeah.
Ken, do you?
I wasn't here for the first.
No, you weren't as well.
What is, Councilman Merwin, what is your concern?
That is
was
just moving violations. I
first
don't want somebody
reading?
getting stopped and not have their registration or something.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
You know, non-point ticket, happen to go to court, you know.
Well, I
Or a
have to say,
tinted window, I think they're, the way that it's written is that they would have to go to court for that.
I mean, frankly, I don't think that you can limit the police officer to state law if they happen to not have a registration card or insurance card. That's the law, and I don't think you can supersede that by telling an officer he can't charge them with that. That would be a discretionary.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that
what
the
you're saying?
mandatory court appearance for a non-moving violation is excessive. That's what I'm saying.
If I may, Councilman, Route 9 is a safe corridor. If I write a summons for a non-moving violation, it's also mandatory court required. So if you don't have your driver's license on Route 9, I check off the box, safe corridor, it's mandatory court.
Okay. But this is our ordinance. This isn't the state.
Which mirrors the safe corridor.
So that is why I asked that question at the last meeting, and I was advised that it would only be moving violations. Now, we can go to the videotape and see that.
That's fine.
But I mean, that's what I was told, when I asked that question. I think that, somebody going down a road that might have limited tinted windows or, some other mechanical thing should not, if they got a headlight out, they should not have to come to court. That's my thing. In that area, it's moving violations. That's what we're after. We're to slow the public down, not to be penalizing them because they have a headlight or a tail light out. That's my concern, is that the emphasis is that we're penalizing everybody, and there's no need for that.
Well, if they have an equipment violation, it's still an offense, whether you penalize or not. The predominant focus is on moving violations.
And that is not how the ordinance is written. The ordinance is written traffic violations.
Traffic violations also not having your documents.
Which are required to appear in court for, whether we write an ordinance or not. If you don't have registration, insurance, or license, it's required that you come to court with those proofs. You can't pay those online.
So let's get away from that one. Let's get back to
get
back to the brake light out, or let's get out to the headlight out, or the tinted window. I think that's excessive that we're making them come to court because the officer happened to stop in that area. The officer may have started following him in another area, but when he stopped them, they're in that area. I mean, I'm only concerned about the movement violations in that area. That is my concern. I don't think we should over-penalize the public.
Well, the officer has the discretion to check that box regardless of what your ordinance says.
Okay.
Just, I mean, that's a discretionary thing for the officer to check that box in a situation with a headlight or
Those
something
questions,
else.
when I asked that question, that is what should have been said last meeting.
Well, I wasn't
That is
here
not
last
what
meeting,
was
so
said
I
at
don't
the
know what was
last
said.
meeting.
I don't know what was said last meeting.
Well,
but that's the law.
what they said is that it would not be, it would only be movement violations. That's what was said at the last meeting. So when I ask it this week, it's something different. That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, that doesn't change my answer. I wasn't here. I just know that the officer has the authority to either check that box or not. And this town council doesn't have the authority to restrict the officer from doing that.
This town council has the authority to say that it is for moving violations only.
You can put that in your ordinance, but it's an unenforceable clause of the ordinance.
Council President, just a comment. You know, this is a one-year ordinance, and I believe it's in the best interest to leave it traffic violations. We're trying to make a point here.
I understand
that you should maintain your vehicle. You should have 2 headlights. You should have all your brake lights working. And if you're pulled over for speeding and then the officer finds something else, if you're driving an unregistered vehicle and you're speeding in it, shame on you. So I believe, my opinion, it should be left as written here. Thank you.
So to make this clear, that if the police officer stops someone in this area because their brake light was out, they don't have to mark off the box that you have to appear in court.
Right.
But he can.
That's correct.
Okay, so the police officer uses that discretion, whether it's written here or not. So this ordinance is not dictating that the officer has to that he has to come to court. It's only if, for speeding, but not for that. Okay?
Oh, Mr. Rizzoli, you had a comment as well?
Yeah, I concur with the attorney. The reality is our ordinance don't supersede state laws. Some traffic stops do require mandatory court appearances at unlicensed, unregistered, not having your insurance card present. Then you can come produce the card and say, I had the card, and the ticket will be thrown out. I think also, any cop will tell you, if they see a violation on whatever, Control Road, and they pull them over down the street, they're going to put where the initial violation was.
Oh, yeah.
However, we can't handcuff the officers into saying you can only go A, B, and C. If you find D, you can expand your investigation out. At the end of the day, our ordinance does not supersede state law. That's just a fact.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes, I think we should leave it up to the discretion of our police officers. I think they know what they're doing, and these zones are targeted for a reason when we're trying to stop lives, save lives. That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else for a comment?
Yeah, at the bottom of it, be it further ordained that the clerk's office forward a copy of this resolution to the chief of police. This is an ordinance, right?
Yes.
Okay. But we don't.
Is there anyone else who has a comment before I close this? Motion?
Motion.
Oh, second.
You're welcome. Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes.
Preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the Township Council on any subject matters for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the preliminary public portion shall first sign a list maintained by the Township Clerk for such purpose. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or a public hearing is to occur at the meeting.
Andrea Januski?
Yes, please. Good evening. Okay, you can use the mic. You could sit whatever you feel comfortable with. Yep. Make sure the green light is on so we can hear you, please. And your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Andrea. I live on... Oh, it's there.
No worries.
My name is Andrea Janucci. I live on Cleveland Avenue in Lawrence Harbor. And for 2 years, the house next to me has been doing construction. I have spoken to engineers, health department, zoning. There's been a hole for 2 years the size of a big swimming pool. I've lost feet, about 4 or 5 feet of my driveway that sunk into the hole. And in the last 24 hours, I lost another 6 inches. And I'm told that, unfortunately, the town's not going to pay to fix it. And she's not going to pay to fix it, so it's a health hazard. It's very dangerous. It's filled with water, green water. So health and safety, I'd like to know if somebody falls in a hole or something happens, who is responsible?
Do we have anyone that wishes to address?
I think it's more of a legal question, but it would be the property owner that has the property incomplete and not properly secure would be the responsible party.
Well, it's been going on for 2 years. The hole is dug, refilled because the town asked her to, dug again. So I understand that no one feels it's their problem, but I pay my taxes in Old Bridge. I've contacted, and many of our neighbors have contacted. It's a danger. So
I understand, and we'll look into that. I'll follow up with the construction officials to this, why, there's a delay in construction. But as sometimes some of these properties and issues are in litigation, and our control is limited. So, but I'll follow up that. I'll follow up with our construction.
I'm here
official.
today because if it isn't followed up, I will contact the news because it is a health and safety hazard. You have 8 feet of water most of the time in that hole with a soft fence that's orange. I have pictures if you guys would like to see them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my children were sick, so I couldn't make copies.
No, that's okay.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes, Mr. Merwin.
I've been in contact with the construction official in reference to the property. I believe some summonses have been issued. It's a legal matter that's happening now.
Well, okay, but the resident is talking about a safety issue, so let's make sure we look at this and see what the situation is. Mrs. Shapiro?
Council President, Councilman Merwin, the construction code official, I think it was either today or on Friday, had issued a notice of violation on the property. The property owner's attorney has been in direct contact with our construction code official, so things are moving along to try to mitigate and come to sort of a reasonable expectation. I think without going into anything or to divulging anything, I believe that there's a new contractor coming on board, and the attorney had said that the site would be in safer conditions going forward, but to give him a couple of days.
But unfortunately, the new contractor that is hired is not even in the yellow pages. So it's the same thing as the last contractor. So it's like just whoever they hire, and they just go one step forward, 20 steps back. And we're living next to this, and I know nobody here would want to live next to that. I have an 18-month-old grandson that lives with me, and he can't go outside because if you stand on my driveway close enough, it sinks with you, and I'm only 120 pounds. And no one comes out. We talk, and I know their hands are tied, but I didn't start this. But, and I know there's an ordinance, because I can show you, she sent me the violation, that she has to fill the hole. But that's not fixing my sinkhole that my insurance company won't cover, since they don't cover sinkholes.
That's not a sinkhole.
Well,
When they build, maybe they'll reinforce your property?
She doesn't have the money to build, but that's besides the point. And that's great, but as the town, I mean, they have to stop this immediately until they can show the correct building. You know, this has been going on 2 years. And I can't take my grandson outside because it takes 1 second for him to get away from my hand and fall into that hole. Or my car. Why do I have to park my car on the other side of my driveway when I have a 9-car driveway that's sinking into the hole? And you guys saw the pictures of when they do fill it, I get swamp because it's standing water. And we did have the mosquito, Middlesex County came out and put poison in it the other day, and then they drained the hole, so now it's all fresh water. So I'm just asking, really at the mercy of you guys, to be on top of this. This has to stop.
Well, yeah.
We'll certainly look into that. The construction official has indicated there's a new contractor being hired. He's going to be working next week. So hopefully this week, sometimes the work starts. We'll contact you. I'll contact you personally.
Do you have a copy of his credentials and his licensing and his insurance? Because I'm trying to get.
I do not have it. His name is, the contractor name is Yellow Jacket Contractors.
Yeah, they're not listed anywhere on any computer, any website?
I don't have that information.
I do. But the last one also, I've been asking for their insurance because she said she put a claim in with her insurance and it was denied. And I'm asking for a copy of the insurance so I could take legal actions, and I'm not being provided that. Yet I'm being provided with a violation that you guys finally vote her for $2,000 a week if she doesn't fill her hole. You guys, do you have her insurance information? How do I get this?
We would not have her insurance claims or her insurance denial, individual property owners. That information does not necessarily, submitted to us.
So then if somebody falls in a hole, you guys would be responsible?
No, we will, the township is not responsible. The property owners is ultimately responsible. But at this point, we're going to have to rely on to see if there is any if the correction is taking place. If not, we'll have to see what other actions can be taken.
Well, I hope I'm in the loop on that going forward, because I'm not going to have another contractor do more damage to my property when they do not have, even in the yellow pages. They're not going to do work on my property. I will not be responsible. I'm going to hire my own person to fix it, and I expect the town to understand that. I mean, she has builder's insurance, and she's not giving it to me. You guys don't have it, so it's just, oh, well, for me. That's not going to work anymore.
I understand.
Okay.
Can you leave me your
Everybody has my
contact
contact, but I'd
information?
love
Yeah.
to give it to you.
Yeah, oh, okay. And
But
All right.
I'm just letting you know, I don't want to have to come to another meeting. It's not against you guys, but nobody would, you also the picture.
Yeah.
You wouldn't live next to it. It's disgusting. It looks like the slums.
What is your address?
All right, well,
Your address?
211. I'm right next door. My driveway's sinking into their hole.
okay.
Okay? Thank
Well,
you so much
oh,
for
no,
hearing
no,
me.
You're welcome, and we will be in touch now that this is on our radar as well.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome, and you have a good evening.
It's been on our radar.
I know it has. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
More, but-
Mary and Tom Cullivan.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening. How you doing?
Good.
My name is Tom Colleran, and I live at 23 Hilliard in Old Bridge. Last Tuesday on 4/2/19, they did a road resurfacing. Okay. 8:51 a.m., a police officer knocked on my door, activated my ring alarm. We tried speaking to him, but we couldn't because of all the noise. 9:15 a.m., a friend of mine went over, spoke to the officer. It was in reference to my truck being parked outside my house in the street. Police officer said the truck needed to be moved. Either I move it, or somebody moves it, or it's going to be towed to the yard on Englishtown Road. We didn't receive any notices of any road paving being done. I checked with all my neighbors. 25 Hilliard, 23 Hilliard is mine. 21 Hilliard did not receive notices. 22 and 20 Hilliard on the opposite side of the street did not receive notices. I spoke with the paving company, MECO, M-E-C-O, Andre. He was really nice in the beginning. He told me he would take care of it, but then he told me that the town told him that I was notified. Now, the notices were supposedly given out on Saturday. I was home all day Saturday. Nobody came on my property. Nobody gave me any notice. A lady a couple doors down, it's on Old Bridge Parents if you want to look at it. Lady a couple doors down found the notice on her lawn on Monday. Thought it was a scrap piece of paper. But even the notice that they got says 2018 road resurface project, and it also says on April 1st, 2018, on or about, we will be resurfacing the roads. So my truck had to be towed 75 feet back, which cost me $125 cash. Either that, or I had to have it towed to the yard over in Englishtown Road and pay storage fees and more fees. My wife was a half hour away. The officer said no. The senior officer at the corner made the call. He called the tow trucks to remove the cars. Now, there's been a bunch of cars that were towed in this project because the people weren't notified.
Do we have anyone who can address this gentleman's concerns?
Hello, Mr. Murphy. Thank you for taking my call, by the way.
Well, Mrs. Shapiro, John first, okay?
Thank you, Council President. So the 2018 annual resurfacing contract has now been resurrected, so we're now final paving. The last time I had talked to Alfredo from MECO Inc. on Friday, he had assured me that he would make restitution with the property owner. If that has not occurred, I would give him a phone call. As for the towing, I know that there were 2 cars towed on that day, yours and a second one, but the second one was because registration was expired on the car, had nothing to do with the paving. All other cars were off the street. That is my understanding of the occurrence on that day. However, MECO Inc. wasn't going to dispute one vehicle and told me that they would make restitution with the property owner. If that has not occurred, I would certainly sit down, send them an email, and say, make restitution as of tomorrow. And that cost is $125 from what I understand.
Okay, I'll say something. It's not the $125. You know what it is? It's that no notices were put out. You rely on a contractor to go around and notify all the residents. No posting on any of the telephone poles. You know, the police came, police took the cars. I mean, we
don't notify we notify in the mailboxes. I could attest only to I wasn't there on Saturday, so I can't attest to what exactly happened on Saturday. But what I can attest to is probably this contractor is one of our better ones. He has done about probably 10 resurfacing contracts in the last 5 years I've been with the township, and he is a good contractor. If he's looking to make restitution, I would certainly say, let's see what he can do. So tomorrow evening, about 4:30, if you haven't heard from him, please call my office and I will make sure it's rectified.
Okay, and again, I'm gonna say this again. The $125 is one thing, but to tow somebody's vehicle in front of their house without notice, okay? And I said, I told you the houses that were not notified, okay? I asked the man what time the man was there, so I could look on my surveillance system to see if anybody came on my property. I was in my garage all day long. It's not the point of the $125. If I was wrong, I was wrong. I'm not wrong, but for them to tow my vehicle and to disrupt me, I was on the phone for an hour at work. My boss is screaming at me. I just don't know how a contractor could just walk around and just tell everybody that they were notified and they weren't.
One last comment on the thing. The contractor did not call the tow. Had somebody called my office, I could have rectified the situation with the contractor.
How were they told to notify them?
They notify him via a notice.
Where do they put the notice?
The notice is in the mailbox.
That's illegal. The mailman over there probably took everyone out. It happened with the OBMUA. We sent out boil water, everyone was removed. And we were told, don't ever do that again. So I recommend do never tell them to put anything in the mailbox. That's probably where they weren't there.
Well, a recommendation would be to, like the Chinese food company does, they put a little rubber band on it and they put it on your handrail. It stays there for a week.
Okay. Mrs. Shapiro, Did you have anything else to add? Because we kind of cut you off. I didn't want to sure. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm still,
Good?
I wanted to talk. They said, I had heard that they did it on Saturday. I spoke to them, they did no notices on Saturday. The other problem I had, it's not with the police department, but his wife was on her way home, and he said, you either move it now, or we're gonna tow it. The cop car was moved in to that spot for the rest of the day. So it didn't have to be moved at that point. And did you say that there were a bunch of cars moved, or just yours?
No, there was 2 vehicles from my neighbor at 25 Hilliard towed, and from 20 Hilliard, another car in the street, but that was not part of the project, the other car.
Okay.
He was towed for unregistered. I guess
Right.
they ran a
Well,
plate.
And can we?
I would recommend that the council or the township reimburse every person that was towed because of the notice. Thank you.
Captain Gumbrick?
I'm going to add something to that. I spoke with the officer that was there. According to him, there was no conversation, not attempted or otherwise, with the homeowner there. There was none. What happened was, approximately 20 minutes after ringing the doorbell, the neighbor showed up and advised the officer that his friend was the one with the vehicle, and he was making arrangements to have it moved. The police department didn't tow it. The gentleman here elected to have the tow company move his vehicle down the road.
Or be towed to the yard. That's what I was given the option of. Either I move the vehicle for $125 cash at the scene, or they take my truck over to the yard. I get charged towing fees, I get charged impound fees. It'd be a lot more expensive if I would.
Still elected to make that decision.
Well-
And the other thing, I'm just going to add this, is according to the officer, that vehicle was in the zone. The zone was basically Hilliard from Dobson down, and I forget what it was. So whether it's in there or not, whether the police car was there or not, the vehicle was parked in the zone. I can't speak to whether notification was given or not. I could just tell you that the vehicle was in the zone.
Right. Well, they did pave about 2 feet in front of on my property, over my property line. But I understand the police had a job to do. But one of the problems is that we would have been there before they did the work, and we would have been able to move the truck and not cost $125. But it just felt like it was being strong on me that I give the guy $125 cash now, which my friend had to go to the bank and get, and pay the tow company.
I
I'm
understand.
not blaming the officers, but it's the notice. It was the notice.
I understand.
I
I
would have
don't-
parked my car in my driveway.
No, this is a pet project of mine, Code Red, which is our community notification system. We put this stuff out as much as we can, so it's another way to be notified. Whether the contractor puts a flyer out there or not, we put down road work areas and road closures as part of that, just going forward.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for
Thank you
bringing
very
it to
much.
our attention, and you have a good evening.
Thank
We will
you.
look into it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Paul Markinson?
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Marcus, and I'm currently the Treasurer and Training Officer, Central Oldbridge EMS. I've been involved in EMS in this town for well over 30 years, as well as worked in the emergency services field for over 35 years. I'm sure you're all aware that I'm the one who wrote the email to all the council members, the mayor, and the BA last week regarding the new budget and some statements made regarding EMS in the let me try that again. Regarding some statements made in the town meeting and as well as previous meetings. To start with, let me just say I'm very confused. I'm confused, well, I actually wrote down, I'm confused of why 4 members, but it's actually now 5 members, the 9 of the council members, emailed me to say that they're unable to respond to my email without contacting the township attorney, and I haven't heard anything from the rest of you. My question is, when did volunteer EMS agencies in this town become the villain? I used to think it was bad when we were virtually ignored when it came to be considered an emergency service. However, it's much worse now that we're the topic of secret township studies and backroom meetings. When asked, no one in this town is willing to discuss anything with anybody regarding EMS in this town, citing current litigation. I'm aware of the lawsuit that was brought on by OB Thames due to improper bid for township EMS coverage and the countersuit by the township for various issues. However, all of the volunteer first aid squads, and I do use the word all of the volunteer first aids in this town, should not be dragged into the litigation. I am aware that the OB Thames, those of you who don't know, initially set up as a group consisting of the captains and presidents of the 5 squads in the township to meet and have one voice regarding EMS in the town. Since that time, to the shortage of daytime EMS coverage, it's expanded to where we know it now, and it's an EMS agency licensed by the state where the employees get paid, and it provides daytime EMS coverage to the town. While it is true that the members of the squad sit on the board of TEMS, they are not involved in the day-to-day operation, and that is left to a management company hired by TEMS and the TEMS leadership, not the leadership or the members of the first aid squads. Just because the township has concerns with TEMS and possibly some hidden interests or secret agendas in bringing in a private service to cover EMS coverage for the township, those concerns should not be projected onto the 5 individual volunteer first aid squads whose members have unselfishly served the township for well over 50 years. From recent events, meetings, and other information, it seems that the township is trying to force the volunteer squads to shut down, thus opening the door to out-of-town EMS contractors. The 5 squads in Old Bridge have given township young people a place to learn about responsibility, life, and unfortunately sometimes death. It's led to many members pursuing careers in the medical field. I can speak for just my squad, Central Old Bridge Emergency Medical Services, that we've had at least 10 to 15 members, if not more, going on to be doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals. Currently, we have about 5 members who are in college, who are in nursing school or preparing to go to medical school. Unfortunately, now, aside from learning about medicine and how to help people, they're learning about the dark side of politics and are being drawn into a fight that they didn't ask for or start, and in some cases, they don't understand. 2 weeks ago, I sent the mayor, the BA, and all the council members an email requesting 3 easy things, and as I already said, I have received no responses from anybody. These 3 things are, number 1, to clarify your usage of the word volunteer and non-volunteer. It's confusing to the residents who are hearing from the council that some squads, such as my squad and Red and White, are not volunteers due to terminology and antiquated state regulations. Whatever the state terminology is, the members of the council and the mayor's office are well aware that our members do not get paid, and all of the squads in Old Bridge Township are 100% volunteer. Using misleading terminology like that could hurt our membership and fund drives, therefore hurting our squads, which I sort of question if that's the reason that it's being done. Number 2, I'd like to ask the council members to write and pass an ordinance, as illustrated in my email, to fix the antiquated wording used in the state legislation, or the state regulations, and to write the ordinance for the town to keep our status as volunteers, regardless of whether our agency bills for service, as long as our members remain uncompensated. As mentioned in the email, there are multiple bills sponsored at the state level to do this, but so far none have been moved or voted on. But I don't understand why we can't fix this at the township level, as I'm sure many other municipalities have. As I also mentioned in my initial email, Old Bridge is not the first municipality whose volunteer squads began third-party billing. Lastly, I request that all the 5 squads in town receive the same $45,000 regardless of their billing status. I've heard that Green and White and Red and White are only budgeted to receive $10,000 each, and I'm really not sure of that. Yet we're the 2 squads that do the majority of the calls in the township. Yet, as mentioned earlier, I've received no responses. Everybody refers to the township attorney. Lastly, I just want to say, through my years in EMS, I've gone through many conventions, seminars, symposiums, and taken many classes regarding new and upcoming threats to EMS providers. They've included bloodborne pathogens, bird flu, Ebola, weapons of mass destruction, most recently active shooter incidents. Unfortunately, there have been no classes out there on how to prevent being stabbed in the back by some of our own township officials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leave it on button.
Anyone else?
Jim Markey?
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jim Markey. Good evening. That's better. My name's Jim Markey. I'm an area manager with Jersey Central Power and Light, and Mr. Shaw had reached out to me to ask to come in and speak to you about Jersey Central streetlight repair process. And I'll try and keep this brief with respect to your time. Our process is pretty simple. We require the public to report streetlights out. Once the public reports them out, our goal is to assess and or repair all streetlights within 3 days. We have about a 90% completion rate on doing that when it's a bulb or a photo cell. Anything that requires more extensive repairs, we take up to 4 weeks to repair. We try and group them together and get police support. There could be access issues, could be getting a contractor to drill in underground wire. But our goal is to have those fixed within 30 days. But in rare exceptions, we do take up to 90 days because we are a utility and we do other work such as restoration efforts or major storms in the state, out of the state, and many other things. When I was made aware of some specific areas in late February, I reached back out to the town, Mr. Shaw and others. We collaboratively worked together to assess about 121 lights throughout the month that were reported through his office. Subsequently, we had about another 50 lights that were reported by just individuals and made those repairs, and again, all within about 2-week time period to get them all repaired on every large bucket that we were given. And that's just in this town. Nevertheless, the rest of the towns that we serve. So that's about 6 lights a day. And in brief, that's the overview of our process. One thing I'd like to do, I always make myself available to mayor and council. More times than not, they choose to work through one individual. That's the way I prefer. That way it's one point of contact, communication's crisp, it's clean, it's direct. And I'll leave my business cards here for each of you. And I'll continue to work with Mr. Shaw, and I'll certainly take any questions any of you may have.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming. I had spoken with Mr. Shaw, and we concurred that it would be good to have you come. We've been having some, conversation, dialogue about the JCP&L, and I think it's good to have someone here representing them so they could answer questions.
Oh, thank you very
Okay,
much.
so I'll start on my left. Gentlemen, anyone with a question, ladies?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin.
Yeah, I spoke to Jim before the meeting, so we've come up with a new plan. Instead of utilizing their website, I will directly report the lights out, because I still have lights that are on a 120-day basis that have not been repaired. And
we'll review
we'll go
those
from there.
specifics, and I'll get you some answers as to what was done, what wasn't done, where the gaps fell, and try and correct those on our side.
Okay. Anyone else on this side?
There was a list of 66 lights, was it, from the 19th?
We had 4 lists received during the month. One was 66 and several others totaling.
Where were those lists received from?
Public Works had put together a list, I think throughout the town, and that was sent to him. The list that you had submitted also was provided to him.
Because on the public work list, it was funny that there was no lights out in the Lawrence Harbor Clipper Beach area.
No, because we had a list from you.
Okay.
That's why he did, they have other lists that was not included. It wasn't going to be duplicated, so.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone, Mr. Cahill?
Yeah, just a question. I also work on utility telephone, but do you have a preventive maintenance program, as opposed to waiting for somebody to say, hey, lights out? Is there a schedule? Is there a way that you basically maintain the lights and based on age and things like that?
As far as streetlights concerned, no. Utility heads generally last about 50 years. They stand up to the weather. They survive pretty well. But again, we report and respond to lights that are reported out with regard to streetlights and PM programs.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on my left have a question? Mr. Pischetti?
Yeah, hi. My experience actually is very good with JCP&L. Whenever I see a light out, I take notice of the number of the pole, and then go to your firstenergycorp.com website, and then there's a little process, and you put the number of the pole in there and the closest cross street. And every time I've reported a light out, within 3 days, it's been done. So kudos to you guys. You're doing a
And
good job.
again, we do measure that, and we have about a 90% success rate in getting repairs done.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Good. Okay. Well, thank you again.
Council President,
Oh,
can I just ask Jim? I don't know. I received a letter in the mail from First Energy the last couple of days about purchasing insurance for the outside mast and the meter. What's that all about? What is the pros and cons, and where does the insurance start and where does it end?
I believe what the mayor is referring to is a letter that was recently put out, and it's regarding providing repairs to privately owned equipment. Today, utilities are not allowed to do that, and Jersey Central is not involved in it. Our parent company is working with an organization to provide that to people across the state of New Jersey who may want to opt for it, much like you have other contracts available for your air conditioning unit or your hot water heater and things like that. If you wish to sign up for it, it's an individual outside private entity that's doing this on behalf of our parent company, First Energy, but it is not affiliated with Jersey Central Power and Light.
I just wanted everyone to be aware. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, and I had heard a
it's like the
couple
worry-free. We won't say with the other company, but it's a worry-free for the outside mast and the meter box. And
right.
everything.
Okay. All customer residential-owned equipment or commercial-owned equipment.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming and taking the time to answer the questions. I think it was a good dialogue, and I think it's good to have a talking relationship with the utility. Thank you very much.
I'm always available, and I'll wait outside for anybody from the public who may need my assistance also.
Thank you very much.
No, that's the end of the public
Okay,
portion.
so we will be closing the public portion. This is the sign-in one. You can, at the end, you can speak, the open one, okay? All right. Next will be report of the township clerk.
None at this time. Thank you.
Report of the township attorney.
None at this time.
Thank you. Administrative report, Mr. Shah.
Thank you, Council President's administrative report for April 8. Item number 1, General Obligation Bond, Series 2019. On Wednesday, March 27, 2019, Department of Finance received 8 electronic bids from 3 bidders on the Grand Street Mini auction platform for the sale of $8,500,000 of general obligation bonds, consisting of $8,050,000 of general improvement bonds and $450,000 of arena utility bonds. The winning bid from Robert Baird had a net interest cost of 2.331327. So it was 2.33% for 12 years amortization schedule. And I think it's very good rate we received on our bond issue. Number 2, Mayor's first annual Health and Wellness 5K race recap. On Saturday, March 38, 2019, the Township of Old Bridge hosted its first annual Health and Wellness 5K race honoring our hometown heroes. There were over 550 runners that participated, while with the just 100 runners originally anticipated, the turnout far exceeded the expectations, and event was a great success. We're looking forward to next year's event. The weather and everything went well that day, so it was a great event. Number 3, 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program Annual Action Plan. The Township of Old Bridge will hold a second public hearing to discuss and consider Township Community Development Block Grant 2019 Annual Action Plan and Preliminary Budget. The Community Development Block Grant allocation for fiscal year 2019 is estimated to be $270,000. The public hearing will be held on Thursday, April 11, 2019 at 2 p.m. in the courtroom of the Township Administration Building located at 1 Old Bridge Plaza. The information received from interested person at the hearing will assist the Township Administration and the Township Council in finalization of 2019 Annual Action Plan for period July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020. Item number 4, Silver Lining New Clean Community Program. Silver Lining is partnering with the Department of Public Works Clean Community Program to bring new pilot program to its members. The program will incorporate giving back to the community, health and wellness, the importance of recycling, and volunteering. Silver Lining members will be going out onto the community and cleaning up our parks, beachfront, and public areas. The plush cleanup will take place Friday, April 12th. If you are a Silver Lining members and would like to participate, please visit our website at www.oldbridge.com/silverlinings. Item number 5, Old Bridge Big Spring Fling Kickoff. The Township and Mayor's Office of Economic Development will launch the townwide Big Spring Fling Week campaign during the week of Saturday, April 13th through Saturday, April 20, 2019. The kickoff party will be held at the Shoppers at Old Bridge, 3777 Highway 9, on Saturday, April 13, 2019, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Easter Bunny will be joining Mayor Henry as he reads to the kids at Toy Genius. There will be giveaways from local vendors and live music from Old Bridge High School Band. We're asking everyone to show support to business and entrepreneurs in Old Bridge by shopping and eating locally during the week and year-round. Item number 6, 2018 Street Sweeping Program. The Department of Public Works is scheduled to begin street sweeping activities the week of April 15, 2019 in Ward 1. For additional information, please contact the Department of Public Works at extension 6140 or email publicworks@oldbridge.com. Item number 7, Mayor Henry's Clean Team. On Saturday, April 20, 2019, Mayor Henry and volunteer from Old Bridge Hoops Academy, Rays of Hope Youth Group, Old Bridge Soccer League Team Impact, and Cheesequake Elementary School will clean up local roads as part of Mayor Henry's Clean Team. The location of the cleanup will be determined close to the cleanup date based on the road conditions. For additional information, a local not-for-profit organization should contact the Clean Community Coordinator at extension 6107 or email recycling@oldbridge.com. Item number 8, Spring Curbside Leaf Collection. The Department of Public Works is scheduled to begin the first round of leaf collection on April 29, 2019 in Wards 1, 2, and 3, and a week of May 6, 2019 in Ward 5 and 6. All leaves should be placed at the curb the Sunday night before in biodegradable paper bags. For additional information, residents should contact the Department of Public Works at extension 6140 or email publicworks@oldbridge.com. Item number 9, Summer Camp Program. Sign up for Camp Robin Summer Camp will take place on May 1st at 6 p.m. Sign up for Half Day Summer Camps will take place on May 8th at 6 p.m. Both registrations are online only. For more information, please check the recreation website at oldbridge.com/recreation. Item number 10, 2016 Homestead Rebate Program. The 2016 Homestead Rebate will be applied to the second quarter tax payment due in May 2019. Revised tax bills for qualified homeowners were mailed out during the first week in April. For additional information, residents should contact the New Jersey Division of Taxation at 888-238-1233 or the Office of Tax Collector at extension 2999. Item number 11, NJDOT 2019 Municipal Aid Grant Application for Morganville Road. We received notice from NJDOT Local Aid that we have been selected to receive funding in the amount of $341,510. This fund will go towards the resurfacing of Morganville Road from Old Bridge, Matawan Road, County Road 516 to our municipal border with Aberdeen Township. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Is there anyone on the council that has any questions or comments? On my left? Anyone on my right? Okay, then I will ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Murphy made the motion, second by Dr. Greenberg. Belli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be the consent agenda. I would like to have a motion, please, in a second. I'll bring it out to the public for comment and then back to the council for their separations.
Make a motion.
Okay. Moved by Mrs. Walker, second Mr. Murphy. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard on any of the consent agenda items for this evening? Seeing no hands, I will close the public portion and now go to council for separations. On my left, Mr. Murphy.
13 and 14.
Anyone else on my left?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin.
347.
Anyone else on my right? Okay, seeing no hands, I would ask for the balance.
Second.
Dr. Greenberg Belli, Mr. Roselli. Rizzoli, I'm sorry. Mr. Roselli isn't here. That poor name.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes. Next will be C3. Mr. Merwin?
Yeah, is there a reason why we have a $2,000 override?
Councilman Merwin, we encountered some issues electrical-wise
Right.
with the exhaust fan, things that are invisible when the design engineer was putting together the plans. Actually, I should say the design architect and mechanical engineer.
That's all I need. Anybody else?
Anyone else have any comments on C3? Okay, I need a motion.
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
Okay, second. Motion was made by Mr. Merwin, second by Mr. Roselli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
C4, Mr. Merwin.
Yes. What is this shared service agreement? The for the paving, right?
Yes, the business administrator had contacted our business administrator and mayor to see if we can jointly share services to resurface Spring Valley Road. From Sanctuary Drive to our municipal border, and then from municipal border over to Tennant Road in Marlborough Township. I thought it was advantageous to us to then do that joint venture because as the quantity increases for the resurfacing contract, so does the unit cost. So there's advantages on our side as well as their side because we're preparing the plans and the specs and the estimate and we're going to bid. However, their portion will be inspected by their inspector. Ours will be inspected by our inspector. And then the police presence for their detour will be available on their side of the road. Same with ours.
Anyone else for a comment? I will just comment, I was going to separate this myself because this is my ward. And I know the people in Plaza Grande are very, very pleased that we're doing this joint venture. I think it's smart, I think it's cost-effective, and those are the kind of initiatives that this administration has been doing, these department heads. So thank you, Nicole, and I'm sure everyone at Plaza Grande, especially Sharon, is going to be very happy about this. I'll make a motion.
Move second.
John's got something.
Forget it.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to agree with Mary on that, and I think that's a great idea. And any other places with the adjoining towns, it'd be great if we can do those types of things.
That's exactly why I suggested it on Morganville.
I think several of us suggested Morganville. That's also my ward. And as I said, down there, the people in Cedar Ridge, Yardley Manor, all along that corridor are very anxious for those Morganville Road repairs. Okay, so I made a motion for C4, second.
And Mr. Rizzoli? Debbie Walker?
Mrs. Walker?
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is C7, Mr. Merwin.
Yes. Well, the first thing, this is prevailing wage.
Beg your pardon? What was the question?
Prevailing wage.
It's prevailing wage.
Yes, it was subject to all the regulations on wages.
What was last year's cleaning contract? The total?
You know what, I will get that information to you. It was a different company. We had gone through the bid. We had a problem with one of the contractor. Then we went back to the previous contractor, previous bidder for a short period, and now we have a new bid that we're going to award to
But
this
you
new
don't know
company.
whether it's more or less, or?
Huh?
in the back.
Oh, Dawn has the information, hang on.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. The last time we went out to bid, the total contract was $84,000, broken out $47,400 for the township and $36,600 for the library, so slightly less this time around.
Okay.
Any other question, anyone? Moved by Mr. Rizzoli. Second, Ms. Walker.
Mrs. Brown?
Yeah.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be C13, Mr. Murphy.
Yes, I just want a synopsis of what this actually is going to be.
Who would like to give Mr. Okay, Stella will give you a breakdown, Mrs. Wood.
Okay. I believe it's a concert, Mr. Murphy. A concert, and they will be serving beer there. That's basically all I know. It is a concert.
That's enough.
That's
I
enough?
mean,
Okay.
I thought it was illegal to serve alcohol in the public. I mean,
They
have a license?
Yes, Raceway Park does have a license. However, they may be bringing in another entity, which they are allowed to do, that also has a license to serve whatever they're serving that day.
All right, so as of right now, you can drink, they have a liquor license?
Yes, they've had a license for many, many years.
Okay. All right, well, that was my question.
And as I said, if they are bringing in beer from the outside,
Okay.
that particular...
Who will be there? The Old Bridge cops will be there and conducting problems there or anything?
I've gone through all our departments, police,
Okay.
everybody, and they've all approved it.
Okay, no problem. And that's the other one, too.
Okay, same thing with that.
Same thing with 14, yeah.
Chairperson.
Yes, Mr. Berwin.
13 and 14, I have the same question. I believe it's line number 11, occupancy, maximum occupancy.
On which one,
And it
Mr.
says,
Merwin?
and it says approximately 10,000 and approximately 4,000. Well, maybe we should say 10,000 and 4,000. We don't care if they have less, but we want to make sure they don't have more.
That's basically their statement to us. I guess they don't really know how many tickets, but they cover themselves. I don't believe they sell more than 4,000 per day on those.
The resolution says no more than 10,000.
The resolution says no more than 10, but in the license application, it says approximately. So the resolution will
Supersede your
supersede,
application. Right, they're limited by 10,000, no more than
Okay,
10,000.
very good. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay, is there anyone
I'll
else?
move it.
Okay.
Nobody else has anything.
I just have a question. Actually, it's for Mr. Merwin. I just remember at previous council meeting that he wanted, he requested from the council president to be on a mass assembly committee, and I just want to know how, we haven't gotten any reports.
Coming along pretty good, and pretty soon we're giving it to the attorney to put it all together.
You can't give us any indication now, or?
What would you like?
Well, when did you meet, and what have you been talking about?
Well, we've met multiple times. We've met with multiple disciplines. We've met with the police department. We've met with the fire department. We've gotten information from the fire department. We've been meeting with the, what do you call it? Tommy Garrity's group.
Fire.
OEM?
The OEM, all right? And there's been progress.
When do you anticipate that we'll have the information?
Well, I think the attorney should have it sometime this week.
Okay, thank you. And just how it differs from our original ordinance?
Well, I think it's a little more stricter.
I need a motion for C13, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
You'll have your opportunity to vote on it. Right.
It's just we're in season now. I could see where she would think of it. Now, mass assemblies are coming on this time of year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need a motion for this. Does anyone want to make a motion?
For C13.
Yeah, can we do them together?
No,
Ken?
we have to do them.
No,
separate.
separately.
They're separately,
Yeah, we have to do
please.
them separate. Okay, motion for 13 then, Mr.
Move it.
Rizzoli? Second?
Second.
Anyone for a second?
Second?
Second, Mr. Paschetti?
Mrs. Brown? Oh, she's off there, sorry. Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Paschetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes.
Next will be C14, and as John said, his questions were answered. So moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second.
Who seconded
Second?
Mr. Paschetti? Okay.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Paschetti? Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
8 yes. Thank you.
Okay. Next will be, we do have no ordinances for first reading. We have discussion ordinance D01, mandating direct deposit of new pay for all municipal employees, selected officials pursuant to NJSA 52:14-15F et seq. Okay, so let's start the opening of the conversation. Is there anyone who would like to speak about this issue? Mr. Paschetti.
Yes, this came up last year, I think. And I want to just talk about the mandating to the employees. And I think it's a bit unfair to mandate to an employee something like this when they've already been hired under rules and regulations, and now we're going to go ahead and make a law to say that it's mandatory that they do direct deposit. Now, I'm in favor of direct deposit. I think direct deposit is great. However, I don't think you should be forcing people to do it. The way I understand it is about 10% of the employees here in Old Bridge do not want the direct deposit. So I would be more in favor of saying all new hires would be mandated for direct deposit, and then try to persuade the other 10% to sign on instead of forcing it down their throat. Thank you.
Okay, are you through, Mr. Paschetti?
Yeah, so I just want to say that I'm going to be opposing this ordinance.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone on?
Well, I was just going to say, would it be better if we heard from Human Resources before we commented? Because I'd like to hear what they say first.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, I hear Councilman Paschetti, in regards to, you're saying, going for new hires. I mean, this is a state statute, and the way that it's written, we would need an ordinance or a resolution in order to mandate the direct deposit. So we wouldn't be able to just do it just for new hires. The only exception would be like for seasonal or temporary, if that's what we wanted to do. As of the last time that this came before you, I took Dr. Greenberg's advice and we went out and shared with the employees the benefits that I had outlined in the backup on the agenda. And a lot of employees, didn't realize that they can have different, bank accounts. They could split up their direct deposit into different accounts and so forth. So after realizing that, that's how a lot of additional employees came on board. So we pretty much have about 90 91% of our full-time employees on board with this, and there's a lot of benefit to it. You know, we want to stay current, we want to be effective and efficient, and be more productive in everything that we do. So that's why I'm asking for your support on this.
About what would the annual savings approximately to the township?
It's about $24,000.
Does anyone else have a comment?
I have comments too.
Okay, no, go ahead.
I worked for a township too, and we were able to choose direct deposit or checks, but at some point they came and they mandated everyone, and a lot of people were leery, they were afraid, they didn't know. But then once it was mandated, they were happy with it. I don't think people realize that you're getting a check from the town, so you're gonna go to the bank and cash it. So the difference is, if they put the money in your account, you could just write a check out to yourself for cash, for whatever you want, and go to the bank. So you're still going to the bank with the check, there's no difference. So the fact that the town's going to save $24,000, I think that's a big deal. We've been very good keeping the tax rate stable this year, and this is one of the things I think that it's very important to try to save taxpayer money.
Mr. Pischetti, I would like to try to get all of the people to speak first, and then give you a second bite of the apple, if that's okay. All right. Mr. Murphy.
First of all, there is no savings. The town doesn't pay for anything. You tried that last time with us, and we looked it up. There's no savings. Second of all, I think people in this country have had enough rights taken from them. I don't want to take another right from them. And this may sound strange, but you wouldn't believe how many people, even here, don't have a checking account. They don't want a checking account. They've lived this way all their life. And as long as one person, I feel, does not want this put on him, then that should be it. It should have been done with the union if you wanted to. Obviously couldn't get it past the union, and I'm going to have to vote no. I totally agree with Mr. Pischetti.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes. When this originally had come up, I, thought it was a negotiable item. I still think it's a negotiable item. Listen, you can shake your head no, but you negotiated with one of the unions, so evidently it is. All right, it's a negotiable item. It should be a negotiable item. The people, if they decide they want to settle their contract for whatever you want to give them, that's their business. But I'm not going to vote for this. All right, there is no savings. You know it. I know it. There's nothing in the budget that shows that you are saving that money.
There's nothing in the law.
Is there anyone else? Yes. All right, Mr. Murphy, and then I'm going to move on.
You're not going to let me talk? Oh,
no. That's
Mark hasn't talked yet.
It's okay. Just as long as
I just want to say, I think it would be terrible, us as a council going against the people that work here, and that's the way I feel. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, Mr. Rizzoli?
Yeah, I don't think it should be up to this council to make a unilateral language change to any contracts. It's a negotiable item. I respect the collective bargaining process, and I'll be voting no on this.
I think the statute is very clear, it's attached. The statute has provided this option that we don't have to negotiate. You, as an administration, as a council, there is no reason we should give up all our rights under the statute and we go back to negotiation. We did negotiate it with the one union, they agreed, and they are fully on board with it. That was during the negotiation, but that doesn't mean that we have to negotiate. The statute is very clear, and I like attorney to speak about that.
Well, I think you've already just put it on there. It's not a negotiable item. It is an administrative action which can be taken by the administration, but obviously has to be approved by council. It's really that straightforward.
Anyone else, Mr. Pischetti? Did you have another comment?
Yes. The way I understand it, Amboy Bank is our bank that handles the payroll. Is that correct?
Amboy Bank doesn't handle the payroll. Part of our compensating balance, and I have well explained to everyone, part of our compensating balance, they pay certain fees, and that gets adjusted obviously at the end if our interest income that we receive from our investment of deposits are adjusted that. There is, bank regulations are very clear. The bank is not going to say, here is the money just for giving away. So it is treated against the compensating balance.
And you're estimating that compensating balance is...
The number that is estimated does not just, we're not just talking about the cost. There is a cost that payroll company charges us for delivery of these checks, printing of these checks, and then we forward that to bank as part of the compensating balance. They pay for it. But beyond that, there is an efficiency issue, there is streamlining issue, convenience issue that we have, they have. It reduces the workload, it provides more efficiency, accuracy, and so on. And when there is an issue, we have to issue another check or something, it adds more cost. So there are more than just financial, the amount numbers. There's an efficiency. And that's why the Human Resource Department is recommended. Remember, Human Resource Department had a 4 full-time employee. We reduced the staff to 3 and have an intern working in that. All of those requires that we improve the efficiency. You can't just reduce the staff and not have an efficient operations or reduce the workload when it's possible. So that's the reason. Look, if you don't believe we're saying the savings, don't believe. But our purpose is to bring forward any potential savings to the township. Now, if the council prefers to set the limit saying, hey, don't bring me savings unless it's $100,000, fine, tell us that. But I think every penny that we save is a savings to the township.
Excuse me, Mr. Marwin? Mr. Marwin?
I have the
Mr.
floor. Don't I have
Marwin?
the floor?
Are you leaving? You're leaving, okay. Just put it on record, Stella.
I'm not debating the efficiency and the quality of direct deposit. I'm in 100% agreement of direct deposit. However, so I'm not going to, object to the merits of direct deposit. I'm talking about forcing employees to do something that they weren't doing in the past. Now you're talking about, if you're talking about 10, how many employees does the town have? How many employees do we have?
We have
270?
247 for full-time employees.
All right, 247 employees.
Let's be clear.
But we have additional employees because we have 506 with part-time, and then during the summer it can get up to 700.
Okay, so I was asking full-time. So 247, approximately, 247 full-time employees in the town. And out of those 247, you're saying that approximately 24 don't want the direct deposit. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. 30 if we include the crossing guard union.
Okay, so Hamachu, if we didn't do direct deposit for the other 200 employees, how much would that cost? What would be the cost of that if nobody had direct deposit?
Well, that's not the only issue. The issue, if we're going to do the mandate according to the state, it has to be for everyone. The only exception would be the seasonal employees or temporary employees. So we wouldn't be able to require, even for new people coming in, we can't separate it out. We have to do it for everyone. And this is something that the state has done. I mean, we're helping our employees to be able to transition at retirement because Social Security and pension is all direct deposit.
Let me ask you this. Let me explain this idea that we're imposing on employees or things. So if you're saying that employees getting their paycheck, exactly what the amount, how they're getting paycheck is our process, and we have to look at that. Tomorrow, employee says, "Well, give me in cash." Are you going to mandate us to give them in cash? I mean, come on.
That's silly.
I don't take, look, I respect your feelings, you respect your opinion, you can decide it, but all these other issues that were not savings or things that were misleading or something are not appropriate. I respect your feeling saying you don't want to do it, you don't support. That's I understand. I'm not telling you how to vote. All I'm saying is that these are, to say that we're imposing or to say that it's a bargaining when it is not clearly under the statute, then...
I didn't say that. I didn't say anything about bargaining.
Not you specifically.
I'm
just
talking
saying
about mandating something for an employee that, was never mandated before. And I think as a council, we need to carefully consider what we're mandating to the employee.
Right, but the statute was not available to do that. The statutory authority received recently, and that's why we're coming to
so
council.
Call for a motion.
John,
There wasn't even direct deposit years ago.
Go ahead.
Not
Debbie. No, I'm
talking
President,
about
if
the
I- just
efficacy
one
of
comment.
direct deposit.
All right,
Not talking about that,
I
Councilman
think
Walker.
the council needs to look at the big
Let
picture.
the mayor have a word,
Yeah,
okay? And then
just-
I'll
just
come
a-
back to you, Brian.
And it is a tough decision, I understand. And you can maybe make a positive case on both sides of this equation, but when you look at the big picture, there's more positive on the side of having direct deposit. You might have one or two circumstances that do, but if you look at all the other benefits, the scales are way tipped for direct deposit, and they're all mentioned here tonight, preparing you for retirement, Social Security, your pension. People who have direct deposit, I think, appreciate it. I do. I appreciate the money being there, not having to go through that whole ordeal of going to the bank and make the deposit. It's there already for me to, and a lot of employees, I think, feel that way. So I think when you look at the big picture, you have to look at the scales. It's not a yes and no answer. This is a decision that's why you make the big dollars. That's why you make the big bucks, to make decisions. And at the end of the day, it's for the taxpayers. That's why you're up there representing the taxpayers. And if it's $24,000, it's $24,000. You don't have to believe us, but that's what it is.
Can you
When
tell
you
us?
look at the
Wait,
facts.
John, excuse
John,
me.
you couldn't comprehend. You don't have the ability.
Listen here, Mr. Mayor, you shouldn't even be talking. This is a council meeting. When are you going to learn it?
Hey, John,
Not a mayor's meeting.
Wait, but John, it's a
Can't
discussion.
comprehend
Yeah, let's,
the theory of what Mr. Shah is saying, because it was brought to you so many times, and you say the same thing. And you know what they say when you say the same thing and look for a different answer. You know what they say. So,
Pretty much
I'm
what
just
they were
telling-
saying about you all year, about the stuff you've been doing,
All right.
taking
Haven't
Christmas
said
away
one
from the people and
intelligent
everything.
thing.
You want to go there, Mayor?
no.
Point of order,
All right,
Mrs.
let's
Sohar.
calm down. Yes, Mr. Cahill.
First of all, the council, let's get back to the actual basics of conducting a meeting. The council president has the authority and the right to call on anybody that he or she wants to do. So the council person can call on the mayor by virtue of the fact that she's a council president, she's a parliamentarian. Those are the rules, okay? So just calm down. Now let's get back to this issue
Right,
about
that's-
direct deposit, okay?
right, yes.
So we're talking about providing people their money in a more direct fashion versus a piece of paper. This is not rocket science, okay? And you cannot go and work for a company now that doesn't provide direct deposit. It's mandated. It has nothing to do with bargaining. Employers can set rules, and this is a state statute. There's a lot of stuff being said tonight which is absolutely incorrect, okay? Employers can set these kinds of rules based on administrative cost savings. That's what the administration is proposing. So let's stop all the other nonsense and get back to what the issue is. The issue is whether or not we want to have some cost savings here or not. Period, end of story.
That's not the issue, Mr.
Yes, it
Cahill.
is.
No, it's not.
Wait.
The issue
All
is,
right.
are you going to stick it down the throats of the employees without their input?
All right.
Talk.
No, listen,
If he's going to talk 3 times, I want to talk 3 times.
I understand your frustration. This was a discussion, I thought, including the mayor naturally, because he can give us information, and Avril and so on. So everyone basically has made their intentions clear, their thoughts clear. The only one that has not spoken yet at all is Dr. Greenberg Belli, Mrs. Brown. So I will let both of them speak, and then at that point, we'll decide where we're going with this with a vote, okay? So, Mrs. Brown?
Yes. I actually wanted to say, I find that the fact that the employees were actually polled, it sounds like, out of a few hundred people, if only 30 people were opposed to it, I mean, I think it's reasonable to say that not everyone is going to agree with every single decision that's made from an administrative level. So, I mean, we did our due diligence, right? So everyone, I just think, should vote as they wish to vote, and let's move forward. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Brown. Dr. Greenberg?
Very well said, Ms. Brown. I think when you hear discussions like this and people getting excited, you always have to come back and just say, let's be reasonable and let's be rational. And in the whole picture of things, with all the things that we have to be concerned in town, the way that an employee receives their money, the idea is you work so you receive your money. And I think that is not really in the fashion. I think administratively, you can make a decision. If you work for a company, you're not going to come in and say, oh, I want a check. I can't believe you do direct deposit. You're happy to get your direct deposit, your pay for the work that you did. But the real issue here is I've sat in the audience, and I've sat here many times, and I can't tell you on our list at the end of the year how many checks have been lost. How many people did not cash their checks? And a lot of people, I was amazed, didn't even realize they didn't cash their check. Well, that's not going to happen now. It would be direct deposit. Excuse me. Also with direct deposit, I know it's uncomfortable when you've been doing the same thing all the time, but I'll tell you, kids coming up and, you want to call them millennials or anything, they don't even go to the bank anymore. They don't even write checks. Everything's on their phone. So change is really hard to do. But I have to respect our chief financial officer, our business administrator, that said this is a positive thing. And just how when I had to speak with Avril for Human Relations, it is good to hear from the employees, but I think majority rules after a certain point. There may be some people, I want my paycheck in coin, gold coin or whatever. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So direct deposit allows you a lot of things. If you are sick that day, your money goes right in your account. If you're on vacation when the pay period comes up, it's already in your account. You don't have to bring a check. You don't have to take the time. Once you set it up, it can be in multiple accounts. Also, what happens if you deposit a check, sometimes you can't write on it for so many days. This way, it's direct deposit. If you need that money, it's available to you immediately. So I understand that people don't want change. And as a councilwoman, personally, I think it's frustrating that I even have to vote on this because I run a business. And if I let everyone in the employees say how the business is going to run, it's going to create chaos. And I think that happens here also. And I think we lose focus and we lose point. It is not directed at those 30 people who do not want direct deposit. I respect their opinion also. I respect that they want it the old way. But they have to understand they're part of a group and there's a way to do things. And then I have to also keep in effect an account. Every resident in this town. And if someone tells me just by doing this simple thing, a simple thing, that we're going to deposit it, we're going to save money, I would look foolish and I would be irresponsible not to vote yes for it. I don't care if it's $5,000. In this day and age, we look for savings in any way that we can. And I can say that is why you have to be fiscally responsible and sound. So I apologize to those 30 people who want, that do not want direct deposit, but when I look at the whole picture, I have to support this. And I have to support this when I look at other townships. I look at the Board of Education. I look at, other businesses. This is the way. Believe me, the first time I did it for myself, it was uncomfortable, but down the road, it's really easy. I don't even have to think of it anymore. It's there, and you could see it. So I really hope that people understand why this is done and can balance everything out, and then we come to a consensus and an intelligent response to this, and I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Okay, now, do we have...
I want to make a motion that we table it.
There's a motion on the floor to table. Does he have a second?
I'll second it.
Can I make a motion not to table it so we can?
You have to start with the motion to table. Right. Is there a...
-1.
Can we please, John made a motion to table. Is there a second for table?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paschetti. take the vote, please, Stella.
Mrs. Brown?
Thank you.
No.
Mr. Cahill?
No.
Dr. Greenberg?
No. Yeah.
Mr. Merwin? Oh, I'm sorry, he's gone. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
No.
Mrs. Sohar?
No.
President Sohar?
No.
3 yes to table and 5 no to table.
I'll make a motion to move it.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Walker, second by Dr. Greenberg. Belli.
Now, is this the motion to take it off of the discussion and move it to first reading?
Yes.
Okay.
Does it different? Okay. All right, so that's what we're voting on now, to take it from discussion to first reading.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Abstain.
Mr. Pescetti?
No.
Mr. Rizzoli?
No.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
4 yes, 3 no, 1 abstention.
There was 5? 5, there was 5 yes.
5 yes, right?
5 yes. Mrs. Brown, Cahill, Dr. Greenberg?
Debbie?
I'm sorry, Debbie. 5 yes.
Yeah, just we have it straight. Okay.
Sorry, Debbie.
Move it to first motion, and move it to first reading, please.
Second.
Dr. Greenberg, Belli. Mrs. Walker was the second on that.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
What was this for?
This is to move it to first reading.
No.
Mr. Pescetti?
No.
Mr. Rizzoli?
No.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
5 yes, 3 no. Passes.
Okay. Next will be public comment on any subject matter. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard this evening? Come forward, please. Good evening.
Hi, this is John Milner again. I'm running for mayor. You can find my my website on my Facebook address. My last name is spelled M-I-L-N-E-R.
Sir, this is not an advertisement time.
Not a time
If you would
for-
like to ask a question or make
Right.
a statement,
And a
please
picture
feel
of
free to do
Thomas
so.
Jefferson. Yes, sir. It's a township lawyer. Sir, why haven't you answered any of my letters I sent you in the past year? About 3 or 4 letters.
I've reviewed them, and frankly, sir, most of them don't have any reason to send a reply letter.
Can you expand upon that, please?
I don't have them with me.
Mr. Mayor and
Mr. Milner, you
Mr.
have
Shaw.
to, you have to
This is
come
not a
through
question
the-
and answer period.
Right, you
This
have
is
to
your
come through the.
opportunity to speak.
Sure,
Yeah,
Mr.
exactly.
Mayor Henry and Mr. Shaw.
You have to come through the council president, that they're not part of this discussion.
I believe it's open for discussions for anyone.
No,
It's
it's
not a
open.
discussion period, so
Right.
you can make a statement.
It's a council meeting, you can make a statement here, but as far as interacting with the mayor or the business administrator, that really is not the
Okay.
venue tonight.
I'd sent financial disclosure information to them through the clerk's office in the past 2 weeks and haven't heard a reply. I was wondering what's going on. Can you look into that for me, please?
I can answer that. May I?
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Ford, please.
You did receive an answer. They did send you the website where you can go on and get it. We cannot go on and print anything out. We're allowed to give you the website, and you can go in and see whoever you want to see. We do the same. We do the same thing if we need to obtain something, but we don't print them out or have them in the office physically. Everything is done by the state on the website.
Oh, you're Stella? Hi, Stella. I believe there is a state law that says that all this material has to be kept in the municipality as well, if it's requested.
It used to be kept in the municipality, but when they went onto the website and everybody has to go in and put in their information themselves, we don't have, we have the ability to give you the website to go and look, but we do not have the forms in the office anymore.
Do you know if people file? Are they given instructions to file?
Excuse me?
Are employees given instructions to file? They know to file?
Oh, yes.
And they have filed?
All of the employees? I can't speak for everybody, I don't have them in front of me, but
Yeah.
you can go in and look up anybody's name and see if they filed.
One of the letters I sent to the attorney and to the mayor are address issues of a municipal law that was put into effect 20 years ago. Mary, you sponsored one of these laws that exempted top employees from filing financial statements. And hopefully you can address that. The lawyer hasn't fixed it, the mayor hasn't fixed it. It's still sitting out there.
Mr. Bill, not to, you know, not
I
to go...
sent you letters about this
Yeah,
too, Mary.
but not to get into a conversation, you said over 20 years ago this happened?
Well, the law is the law. It's the law in effect today, and it's a bad law. It's a legal law. And you sponsored this. You know what's going on. Please address this to the audience.
Can you... No, I'm not going to get into a debate, but I've only been a council person for 10 years, so I don't know. If you can get me that information, I don't, to my knowledge.
Councilman Butler sponsored one, you sponsored the other, exempt top police officials, the municipal judge, the auditor from filing financial statements, which is quite illegal, yet it's in the statute. The attorney knows about it, the mayor knows about it, and nothing's been done. Mr. Mayor, can you address that? Oh, I'm sorry, if I can't address them, I'd have to ask you to address that, Mary.
May I?
Yeah, you can speak, Stella.
If you feel that someone was supposed to have filed and didn't, you're welcome to send me a letter, address it to me, and I will give it over to the Ethics Board, and they'll look into it.
Okay, from what we understand from our last conversation, the council members make $6,000 a year. Mary, you've been doing this over 20 years.
No, I haven't. That's
you
where
had a break. You had a break in.
No, I have not served. I started serving. This is my 10th year. I never served prior to that. So somehow, I don't know if you have me confused with someone else, perhaps.
Oh no, I don't think so. You make $7,000 a year, Mary.
Currently, I do as the council president.
Before.
Yeah, I made 6 before. If you're the council president for all this, it's 7,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
I said it's $6,000 for each council member, and if you happen to be the council president that year, it's $7,000 for the year.
This will show up on the financial statements.
Well, what happens is you list what you do. You list what your, what your jobs are, what you have coming in, but it's not I don't think it gives an exact number, does it?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, don't misunderstand me. I'm running on a platform of transparency.
Yeah, no,
and,
that's fine. That's why we told you you wanted to know what our salary was.
Responsibility is what it's about tonight.
And we, by all means, it's just sponsoring of legislation. I had the confusion. I have never, to my knowledge, sponsored anything like that. But everything else, you can ask any of the council members their salary. Okay?
Sure, mayor makes $15,000, sir? The man next to you makes $250,000.
Mr. Milner, again, this is not that kind of
I didn't know I'm out of. I'm
No, it really isn't. It's not. We've been as polite as possible. We've answered your question. She's given you all the different ways to access the information. So as far as transparency is concerned, I think we're trying to be as transparent as we can. Thank you very much.
We hope something shows up there.
No, okay. All right. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to be heard this evening? Please step forward. Good evening.
Good evening. I hope this is the last time.
Is your microphone on? Is it green?
Isn't it?
Good? Okay.
I hope this is the last time when you see me. I'm not going to come anymore here. The last thing was I can reported these people, they are murderers. I don't have any other word in English to express myself. Today, actually last week, my stove, it was broken. I tried to put the oven, when I turned it on, I couldn't open the door again. I called the office. They say you're supposed to leave 6 hours and then the door is going to open. The 6 hours they passed, the door did not open. They sent somebody, workers inside. They tried to fix it, and it was not unable. Today I called them because they came the afternoon. They removed the part which they thought it was something broken inside to the part, so they removed it and they left. When I tried to use it after that, open and close without the hook which holds the door when you clean it yourself. The oven did not working. I put it on the stove, did not working. It was the red, it was off again, and I called him 3 times. The manager which it is today here, that guy, he doesn't care for nobody. Before he was worker, he had a little brain. Today doesn't have because he get $5,000 or $10,000 extra because he is the manager. Believe me, 3 times he came to me. He says he apologized to me. I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that to you. 3 times he was ready to go away because I'm living there 37 years. 3 times he says, I cannot stand the way with the manager. He had a little brain. Today he doesn't have because they make him manager. All the guys, last week came one guy, he says, he hugged me. He says, Bill, I miss you. You are not happy. I says, how can I be happy? You see my doors, they're open, my windows, they're open, all the windows with the 2 blankets. He said to me, it's a worker. He says, it's not only you. All the apartments, they are smell. They fade from them. I know the properties belongs to the owners, but not the buildings. The buildings belongs to the government. That's what I say to you, to everybody. The last time which I came here, I'm going further than that. Mr. So you have the report of the insurance. I want the report.
Yes, we'll get you the. We'll get you, if you stop by tomorrow, my office will give you a copy.
Thank you very much. Also, I want the police, which they came from what reason the first time, because I was not there, I was to Senate office, and they came, they left, and who calls them for a second time when I was to my house? They put me in the jail, in the hospital. I cannot sleep, gentlemen. I cannot every night. To me, the day comes night, and the night comes day. Believe me, I cannot sleep what they did to me. 3 shots they give me. As long when I mention to them, this is a business you do the hospital. That more they tie me, that more injections they used to give me. The hospital, they send me a bill, and which on the insurance they pay. They send me a bill for $90, which I remember years ago, I did to the same hospital, they send me $90 for the students. The pension they have to pay for the students, which are they going to be tomorrow doctors. We have to pay that price. And I did not, why there is me and why I have to pay that money. I got no money to put my table to eat. Who's going to pay those things? The police, they charged me $250. The ambulance, when they came, they charged me $35. And years ago, somebody here, police, he raised me, and I was to the hospital, they charged me $350, and I didn't raise my voice more than that. The city, they paid that on the hospital, which it was on New Brunswick. They paid the price. I should sue them for harassment. It is the harassment. The police, they have to have the police not only they wash their hand. When I call them, they say it's not our the issue. The administration, the city hall, they don't care about the people.
Okay, well, he did tell you, Mr. Shaw did tell you that tomorrow if you come, he will give you the reports that you requested, okay?
I want the police.
Okay, your 5 minutes is up, so, okay?
Thank you very much. I hope I'm never going to come again. I'm going to come to somewhere else.
Have a good evening. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Seeing no hands, then I will close the public portion, and I will now go to council member comments. Anyone on my left? Mr. Cahill.
Yeah, I'd just like to apologize for my outburst before. I got very frustrated, and it was unprofessional, so I apologize.
Anyone else on my left? Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. I'm sorry for going after you there, Mayor.
Okay, anyone else on my left? How about on my right? Anyone?
Yes, I would like to say, a lot of times, you know, we hear things that aren't good in town or whatever, but I will tell you, this past weekend, there's a lot going on in this town. It's very vibrant. if you have young families with kids, it was really nice to see at the Little League fields this weekend all the kids that came out, all the teams. I mean, that's American sport. It's so nice to see them there. All the kids on the field, the girls soccer team on Higgins Road, the boys on Tyce-Around. The girls soccer team has grown so much. And also just for kicks, if anyone is aware of that program, it's for kids with disabilities. It's a wonderful program to get kids out playing soccer, and they do need volunteers to help. So each member of the squad has someone to really assist them through the skills and just to be there for them for encouragement and for safety. Then also our ROTC this weekend, they had an event going on for one of their fundraisers at the high school. And then the Historical Society had a tea, which has grown. In fact, it's grown so much that they had to move it to use another building in Matawan, the Women's Club in Matawan. So there is so much going on, and for people to get involved, and just really a lot of times where people say, I'm not aware of this or that, it's usually on our marquee and also on the website. And we always try to bring things up at the council, the administrative report, and also people speaking of things at council comments, and that's why I bring it up. But also, unfortunately, I would have loved to have been there for the 5K that was on the 30th. I was at a wedding in Missouri. Mary's daughter got married, and I was so happy to be a part of that happy celebration. But we were communicating with people in town, and the weather not only cooperated, but as I said earlier, they thought there was only going to be about 100 people. They got 500 people to run for the first 5K, and the good thing about this raised money for our hometown heroes and veterans, so it was for a good cause. So if you look around town, there's really something out there for everyone to get involved. And, you know, I'm mentioning this now, and it's not to take away from the seriousness of the things that when people came up and complained. I just always like to end on a positive note, and for everyone just sometimes to take a deep breath, and we'll try to help in any way that we can, and just enjoy yourselves and enjoy the spring. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then I will close the council.
Council President, just I'd be remiss. I was hoping one of the council members would bring it up. But as you were at Saturday's opening day Little League program was introduced here in Old Bridge. It's a Challenger baseball, and we've been asking for that. I said a prayer was answered, a wish was granted. We now have a Challenger program here in Old Bridge that's available, and I'd like to publicly thank the Old Bridge Little League for taking on that. I read the proclamation where we encouraged organizations, and here they are. They stepped up to the plate, no pun intended, and we have a Challenger League. Everybody witnessed the boy who threw the first pitch out. It was moving, it was motivational, and it was very inspiring. So I want to thank them publicly. Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely, they are that just for kicks. They do so much for the people that are challenged, and that's a wonderful thing. So I will now ask for a motion to adjourn.
Let's move it.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg-Belli, second by Mr. Rizzolo.
Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kale? Yes. Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?